All right, so I'm actually officially recording this because I know there's a few people who aren't going to be able to make it. But so I'm just having everybody answer these three questions. They all look very similar, but you know I'm going to be a little tricky. So try to remember the rules. All right, here we go. Here's how these work. I'm not going to take a score on this. I just want you to remember. So what does 5 squared mean? Somebody needs to mute themselves because I hear stuff in the background. It's probably Robbie.
It's Dottie.
Then yeah, you need to mute yourself so that I can't. There you go. Okay. So 5 squared. That's pretty simple. That simply means 5 times 2. Is that what that means? Does 5 squared mean 5 times 2? No, it means 5 times 5. Thank you. So 5 times 5, the answer is 25. That's an easy one, right? Okay. What about this guy? Okay, he's a little tricky. Is this negative 5 squared? Well, that's how you'd say it. You'd say this was negative 5 squared, right? What is the answer? Is this negative 5 times negative 5?
Yes.
No, it is not. If I wanted to tell you that that was negative 5 times negative 5, I would have put a parenthesis there. This is 5 squared. This is negative and then 5 squared. So super important that you remember that. This answer is actually negative 25. If I had wanted you to square the negative 5, I would have put parentheses there. Does everybody understand that? That's super important. That is an easy mistake to make. So I didn't put it there. Therefore, that negative gets slapped on afterwards. So the answer would be negative 25. Now, here's the tricky one. I have the square root of 5 squared. Do you all see that? The square root of 5 squared. What does the square root of 5 squared equal? Well, let's talk it through. What does the square root of 5 mean? What does the square root of 5 means? The square root of 5 is a number times itself that makes 5. Now, do we also agree that the square root of 5 is an irrational number, that there is no actual answer other than the square root of 5? Right? Anything else besides the square root of 5 would be an estimate. But either way, whatever it is, the square root of 5 is whatever number multiplied by itself equals 5. So if I have that number, that almost imaginary, that irrational number, and I multiplied it by itself because of that squared there, what answer is it going to give me? 5. Right? 5. So it's very simple. This is a very important concept. Whenever you have a square root symbol, the square root symbol, and you have the squared symbol, you know what those two things do? They kill each other, right? Squaring something and square rooting something, they are opposites. They kill each other. So I technically can simply erase this guy here. I can erase the squared and I can erase the square root because it kills each other. And so the answer would be that the square root of 5 squared is just 5. Does that make sense? Okay. The reason why I bring all that up is because in part of you using the Pythagorean theorem, you did this before yesterday, where you have this and you have 3 and this is 4 and this is, the question mark. And we did this yesterday where we used the Pythagorean theorem. What is the Pythagorean theorem again? That is a squared plus b squared. Yeah, you guys should all know that equals c squared. Okay, and which one is a's and which one's the b's and which one's the c's? The a's are the legs. In other words, the two sides that make up the right angle. And then c is always the hypotenuse, which is the opposite of the right angle. So that would be C. Now, so let's do this. So then we would plug these things in. We have 3 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. We don't know. Robbie, you need to mute yourself every time. Thank you. We wouldn't put C squared because we would put the question mark. Whatever they're saying is out here, right? I happen to have a question mark here, and so that's what goes inside the parentheses here. So we do this, that would be 9 plus 16 equals question mark squared. This would be 25 equals question mark squared. How do I figure out what the question mark is? Well, what's the opposite of squaring something? We just learned this. That would be we would square root this, and we square root this, and this is this. Well, what is question mark squared, square rooted? Those two things kill each other. That is what we wanted. We now have the question mark, and that equals, well, what is the square root of 25? 5. So equals 5. Very simple. So I know you guys know that. We did that yesterday. Now, here's the tricky part. What if I gave you something really ugly like this? And I said, okay, this time, this is the square root of 12, and this is the square root of 5, and I want to know what x is. All of a sudden, ooh, I gave you sides that are square roots. So, what do you do to figure out this leg? What formula am I going to use?
A squared plus b squared equals
Yeah, the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to use that anyway. So which one is A? Well, A could be x, or it could be this. It doesn't matter. You pick. Well, let's choose it to be x. So I'm going to put x in there, x squared plus, ooh, that means that this guy over here, this is b. Ooh, that would mean that it's the square root of 5 squared equals, ew, square root of 12 squared. Do you understand? Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so what? It's you still use the formula, even though it's ugly. That leaves me with x squared plus, ooh, what is the square root of 5 squared? We just did this.
5.
5 plus 5 equals, ooh, what is the square root of 12? What is the square root of 12 squared?
12.
12. Okay, so then now we have to go minus 5, x squared equals 7. How do I get rid of the x squared? X squared is not happy because he's not alone. He's being squared. Oh, I square root him. Square root the 7. That leaves me with x equals, ooh, square root of 7. And we're done. You would say that the actual answer is the square root of 7. Does that make sense, people? Even though we use a square root as one of the legs, so what? You can still use the Pythagorean theorem. In fact, that makes it even easier. When the sides of a triangle are square roots, that's going to make your life even easier. There's even less to do. Okay? Anyway, let me see what else we want to go over before I give you your quiz. Distance and midpoint formulas. You guys did that on. You guys did that with Khan and me, right? We did. You watched me and you watched Khan Academy. I am going to, when I give you your quiz, I'm going to let you have the formulas, which is fine. I am about to give you a quiz, and I would very much like you not to be using any special program. I know there's these programs where you can take a picture of it with your phone or whatever, and then they'll do the program for you. No, we're not doing that. I really want you to do this one straight up, be honest. I'm going to give you till the end of the period to work on it. I may give you more time than that. I may make you guys, just have you guys do this quiz as your homework. But again, I'm interested in you working on your stuff yourself, not getting special, not going to the back of the book, not using these programs to help you. I mean, that's not teaching you anything. So anyway, the distance formula, I will put it up here on the big screen here. That is D equals, and this is, I mean, there's lots of ways to do this. X2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. It's all square rooted. That's the distance formula. And the midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2 and y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Anyway, I'm not even going to leave them up, because I will let you use your book. You can go back and look at the formulas. I don't care. That's fine. I just don't want you to go to the back of the book, and I don't want you to use these programs that will help you answer the questions. So anyway, here is your quiz. You're all going to turn to page 622, page 622, and you are going to do numbers 25, 27, 28, 32, 33, 34, 37, and 38. Those are the 8 questions I'm going to have you do for your quiz. Now, we technically have about 10 minutes left, so here's what I'm going to do. This is going to be the 8 questions that I'm going to give you to do for your homework, quote, quote, homework. We will go over this tomorrow, and at the end of me going over this tomorrow, I'm going to give you a quiz/test on this stuff. I am going to, when we get done with this entire book, I will come back and show you a little bit about trigonometry, not much, but I'm going to skip the rest of this chapter for now. We will probably come back to it at the end of the year, but I really need us to get to chapter 13, like I said before. So I'm going to give you these 8 questions to do for your homework tonight. Do a good job. It does count as a quiz. Be honest. Don't cheat. Also, please, I know that right now there are 9 of you in here, and there's 11 in the class. I know that a couple of you aren't able to make it to this, but try to be here right at 10:30, okay? Try to be here. I start class at 10:30, and we only have 25 minutes, so try to be right on time. Even if the 8th graders are still in the room, come in anyway. Be ready to go. I will dismiss them, and you guys, we need to get started right away. We don't have a lot of time, all right? So anyway, does anybody have any questions about what is expected of you? You're doing those 8 questions. You're not using the back of the book, and you're not using these apps that give you the answers. You are giving me your real stuff.
What are the numbers again?
They're up here on the board still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I will leave them up on the board until I leave. Does anybody have any other questions? Yep, you got it, Jordan. You see them. All right. Okay, very good. Then I am going to kill this so that it doesn't make it too long of a video, and then I'll be posting it to YouTube and for those people that couldn't make it to the meeting. And then I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10:30 sharp, yes? 10:30 sharp tomorrow, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Go ahead and you guys can leave the room. Once you have these 8 written down, this is what is due tomorrow. And it's due, we no longer, I think if I didn't tell you this before, we're no longer due at 3 o'clock anymore. We're due at 10:30 when class starts. Okay? Okay, very good. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 10:30 sharp.